Okay. All right. Rishal and Nelleen. Hare Krishna. So what's the program?
I think we'll just wait for a minute more, Marge. I just want to... So you've started? Okay, you started. And I'll just share your video too. Just come down. Yes, we can start, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, dear devotees on Zoom and Facebook. Thank you for joining the Radharanath Temple ISKCON KZN Sunday program. Originally, we were meant to have an in-person program in Camp Pithias at the Radharanath Temple, but from some advice from various professionals and health department, we had thought to be more cautious and go with the route of just the online program for now, though we do hope in due course we will be able to gather again. Today we're very fortunate to have His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Maharaj with us to continue the series on discussing the Shikshastika prayers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Today we will hear from Maharaj on the 3rd and 4th verses of the 8 verses of Lord Chaitanya. All of you, I'm sure, or most of you, I'm sure, know of Bhakti Caitanya Maharaj. He is a very senior disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Maharaj has been leading Srila Prabhupada's mission here in South Africa for decades, some 4 decades or so, or more even, and is serving as a GBC member, overseeing various regions in the world, and this year also serving as the chairperson of the governing body commission for ISKCON. And Maharaj is also here based at the Sri Sri Radharanath Temple and daily providing much association to hundreds and hundreds of devotees through japa and online classes. So we're very fortunate, and we'd now like to welcome Maharaj for his presentation. Devotees, if at all possible, to create a more personal experience for all of us, kindly consider switching on your cameras so Maharaj can see, and also, it'll be also pleasing to him, I'm sure, to get a sense of how his audience is absorbing what he's saying as well. So if you can, please do for those of you on the Zoom. Thank you very much. We'll pass on to His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Maharaj.
Thank you, Swarup Damodar Prabhu. Yes, it's nice if you can turn on your cameras, then I can see your smiling transcendental faces. On with camera, off with microphone for the time being. Otherwise, sometimes we get some other sound vibrations coming, not so suitable. Yes, well, thank you all for coming and taking part in our program today. And we are continuing our series, like a seminar, you could say, on Shikshastakam, the 8 special verses spoken by Lord Caitanya. Srila Prabhupada makes the point that even though Lord Caitanya he instructed Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and they then more or less paraphrased his teachings in their literatures, that otherwise just directly for the people in general, Lord Caitanya only gave the Shikshastakam to our knowledge. Yes, so these 8 verses of instruction, very essential verses of instruction. And today we're going to be looking at verses 3 and 4. You know, verse number 3 is so exceptionally, more or less uniquely important. Anyway, it's very, very important, and generally out of the 8 verses of Shikshastakam, verse number 3 is the verse which devotees are most familiar with, and it's the verse we quote the most out of all the 8. So we'll see how it goes today. I'm intending giving some special attention to verse 3, and it may end up that we won't give number 4 much attention. If that's the case, we'll just continue with 4 in the future. But anyway, let us begin with verse 3. Very famous verse. I'm sure you've all heard it many, many times. Trinadapi sunichena, Tarorapi sahishnuna, Amanina manadena, Kirtaniya sada hari, which means one should chant the holy name of the Lord in the humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So yes, this is very, very important verse and extremely relevant for us, the principle of humility and not allowing ourselves to be governed by pride. This is really important, because in this material world, everyone is prone to be proud. And why is that? That is because we are here in this material world, you could say, trying to compete with Krishna. We understand that we were with Krishna before, sometime before. We were with Krishna in the spiritual world. But somehow we became envious of Krishna, and we thought of becoming his competitors. And when we were really seriously thinking like that why can't I also have some special position with people giving me some special treatment? Why only Krishna? So somehow or other, attaining that very deluded state of mind, we were then placed in the material world. And we've been going life after life in this material world, trying to compete with Krishna, trying to become prominent and even the center of attention. So this is such a prominent feature of the consciousness of the conditioned soul of all of us, that dealing with it and overcoming it and cultivating the proper mood of humility before the Lord, humility before the devotees of the Lord. This is really a very special and important part of what is Krishna consciousness. And the process of cultivating that and really becoming convinced of that's an important part of Krishna consciousness. So there's quite a bit that I'd like to say, as I mentioned at the beginning. There is quite a bit I'd like to say about this. And I want to refer to a number of places, some things from Srila Prabhupada, some things from previous acharyas, which are dealing with the subject of humility in general, and also dealing with this third verse of Shikshastakam particularly. So let's begin. Let's begin examining this third verse of Shikshastakam, and in this context, let us begin examining a little bit our consciousness and see how we can apply what Lord Chaitanya has said in this verse, how we can apply it to ourselves practically in our lives. To begin with, I could mention that Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was asked one time in a class, or at the end of a class, by one devotee, a person who was present there in the class. He was asked, is there a secret for becoming Krishna conscious? Is there some secret that if you do it, then you'll get some breakthrough, something of that sort? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he leant forward, you could say in a knowing type of way, you could say, he leant forward like, I'm going to impart something special here, so please give special attention. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, yes, there's a secret, and I know what the secret is. And you can imagine the great Acharya preparing to say something in that way. Everyone present must have given their rapt attention that here we are going to hear something really extraordinary, some special key to the practice of Krishna consciousness. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, having said that yes, I know the secret, then he spoke this verse, Trinadapi sunichena, Tarorapi sahishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniya sadahare. Let me just repeat the translation again, because it's so So important and so wonderful. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. And by extension, you could say, by extension, only in such a state of mind will it be possible for one to chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Without that state of mind, even if one tries to chant constantly, but one will find without that humility, the mind will not let us chant constantly. The mind will demand that we focus on something else and some other thing and something further. And so our chanting will become interrupted by the mind on the basis of a lack of humility, on the basis of, you could say, some subtle attack of some aspect of pride, diverting our attention. Yes, so this is really very important, or not just important, but really it's something essential that we all have to cultivate and really try and develop in our lives. Before I go into it further, I want to read for you it's an elaboration on this verse by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's from his collection of songs called Gitavali. And in this Gitavali, he has written, it's actually a bhajan. He's written a bhajan, which is a commentary on Shikshastakam, or actually I should say, he has written a bhajan, which is a commentary on each verse. Each verse has a bhajan, which is commenting and elaborating on the particular verse of Shikshastakam. So the third verse of Shikshastakam, it has its bhajan also. And I want to read this, and please give your attention. It is Sunday. There's nothing else to do. There should be nothing, there better be nothing that you have to worry about. Let's just immerse ourselves here. Let's just absorb ourselves in the transcendental sound vibration and really try to let it into our hearts in a way more deeply than usual. So here I will read the song, which is a commentary on this third verse of Shikshastakam. So the song, the bhajan, is 8 verses. It's 8 verses of commentary on this one verse of Shikshastakam. So, okay, here we go. Sri Krishna Kirtane Jadi Manasa Toha Parama Jatane Tahe Labo Adhika. Oh, have you put it up, is it? Oh, you have. Look at that.
Yes, Mara.
How clever. Very good. All right. So let's read the translation. Here it is. If you desire to engage in Sri Krishna Kirtan, then with great care attain the required qualification. The required qualification, what is that? Humility, yes. And verse 2. Trinadika hinadina akinchanachar apane manobi sada chadi ahankar. You should give up all false pride and always consider yourself to be worthless, destitute, lower, and more humble than a blade of grass. Let me just make a little point here in regard to what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said. We should give up all false pride and always consider ourselves to be worthless. Now, someone might think that, yeah, okay, well, let's try and do that with the idea in mind that I'm not really like that, but sort of as part of an exercise, I will try to consider myself to be worthless, destitute, lower than a blade of grass, etc. I think this sort of idea may occur in the mind sometimes. But actually the thing is this, devotees, that even though it might not be really apparent to ourselves or clear to ourselves, our position in fact is like that. We're actually worthless, destitute, in terms of, you could say, spiritual assets, Krishna conscious assets. In fact, not only are we worthless and destitute generally means you're broke. You got no money. In this case, we're talking about spiritual assets. So in fact, our condition, if we really understand ourselves clearly enough, we'll see that our condition is not simply spiritually worthless or destitute in terms of not having so much spiritual assets or qualification, but our condition, we are in a negative condition. Not only are we seriously lacking spiritual assets, spiritual qualifications of nice transcendental personal qualities, but actually we have so many negative qualities, bad qualities, which are undermining our efforts to progress in Krishna consciousness. And pride, of course, is one of them. There's the saying we've all heard, the pauper is proud of his penny. And this tendency towards pride and, the other tendencies, lust, anger, and greed, we are possessed of those. We have lust. We have such a tendency to anger. we have the tendency towards envy, towards greed. So these are actually negative factors. Like it's one thing to have no money, it's another thing to be in debt, to have no money and be owing people. I think you get the idea. So that's our condition. And as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying in this verse too, we should give up false pride and consider ourselves in these ways, worthless, destitute, and so on. But we may find we struggle to really accept that in our hearts and really see ourselves like that. If that's the case, even if it's not the case, but particularly if it is the case, we should pray to the Lord. We should pray to Lord Chaitanya that you have given us this Shikshastakam, a great key for spiritual advancement in Kali Yuga. And one of the most important parts is that we must cultivate humility. So my Lord, please help me. Please help me to see more clearly what I actually am, because when I see what I actually am, then I will feel real humility in a genuine and natural way and see that it's all true. And when we see that it's all true, that I'm pretty useless or worse than useless, I am a danger to myself, then real humility can start manifesting. So let's continue on with the third verse from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Vriksha samakshama guna karabi sadan pratihimsa tyaji anye karabi palan. You should practice forgiveness like that of a tree, and giving up violence toward other living beings. You should protect and maintain them. Let me just make a comment on this. You should practice forgiveness like that of a tree. Srila Prabhupada talks about the forgiveness, the tolerance of the tree, that the person, the human being, is cutting down the tree. The person is in the process. They're in the process of cutting down the tree with the axe or the saw or whatever. But the tree is so tolerant, the tree is so forgiving, that even while the person is cutting down the tree directly, the tree kindly gives shade to the person, so they won't feel hot in the sun. So they can cut down the tree feeling nice and refreshed. So we should practice forgiveness, tolerance, like that of the tree. And giving up violence towards other living beings, we should try to protect them and maintain them. Yes, you may have heard the story told by His Holiness Giriraj Swami when they were designing our temple in Juhu, Bombay, Mumbai. And of course they had to get the plans passed by the city authorities. And the city authorities said, it's big temple project. You need big driveway, not just a regular one lane, but like a road with a left-hand side and a right-hand side, a proper road into the property. But there was a tree there was a tree right where they wanted the road to go. And our devotee architect showed Prabhupada that this is what they want. And Prabhupada said, but there's a tree there. And we don't want to cut down the tree. So the devotee went back to the city people and said, we don't want to cut down the tree, so we should do something else with the road. But the people said, no. Road must be there like that, so you must cut down the tree. And the architect came back to Prabhupada and told him that. And Prabhupada said, you must tell them it is against our religion to cut down trees. So the devotee did that and got permission from the city authorities to not cut down the tree. And I was listening reading maybe just recently, Giriraj Maharaj pointing out that here we are many years later and the tree is still there in the middle of the road. And Srila Prabhupada saved the tree. So this is part of the mood, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur is pointing out, part of the mood of Lord Chaitanya in speaking this third verse of Shikshastakam. So let's read verse number 4. Jivana nirvahe ane udvega nadibe para upakare nija sukha pasharibe. In the course of passing your life, you should never give anxiety to others, but rather do good to them while forgetting about your own happiness. Well, yes, of course, this is true, but not just in a material sense, in a spiritual sense. We should do good to the people, not just by being charitable or in a material sense, but by giving them Krishna consciousness without being concerned for our own happiness. And the more we develop that mood in our preaching, that we don't really care what I may get out of it or what result may come to me. We don't really care about that. But we're very interested and enthusiastic and concerned to help the conditioned souls. Then the more we will become happy. Preaching Krishna consciousness will become more and more happy. Verse 5. Haile o sarva gune guni mahashoy pratintasha chadikoro amani hridoy. Even if one is a great soul possessing all good qualities, one should abandon all desires for fame and honor and make one's heart humble. Mahashai, the last word of the first line. Mahashai means great soul, great person. Of course, conditioned souls have such a tendency to see themselves like that. So even if you think you're a Mahashai, Mahatma, great soul, just forget it. Just forget it. And just take it, accept that actually I'm nothing in particular. I'm just a very small person. And therefore I should not be at all proud, even if apparently I have good qualities. Verse 6. Krishna adishtana sarva jive jani sada Korabi samana sabe adare sarvada. Knowing that Lord Krishna resides within all living creatures, one should, with great respect, consistently show honor to all beings, because every body meaning physical body, is a temple of Krishna. Even the person themselves, they may be some degraded person, but still their body is a temple of Krishna. So in that sense, we can offer respect. One time I was in Srila Prabhupada's room, his darshan room in Bhaktivedanta Manor, and Srila Prabhupada gave a demonstration of how to distribute his books, what to say. And Prabhupada basically paraphrased Prabodhananda Saraswati, who spoke a very interesting verse in this regard. He's preaching to someone. So Prabhupada stood up and picked up a book demonstrating that he's doing book distribution. And then he demonstrated what we should say. So Prabhupada walked up to one devotee like he's going to distribute the book to him. And Prabhupada said, "My dear sir, I can see you are very intelligent. In fact, I think you are the most intelligent person I have met all day." And you can imagine how people might feel if they're approached like that. So Prabhupada said like that. And then Prabhupada said, "So, my dear sir, I have just one request of you. Please forget all your nonsense and read this book." Yeah. That's Prabhupada's lesson on how to distribute books. Yes, so we should honor people, offer all respects to others, if for no other reason than the person's an eternal spirit soul, and Krishna is personally within their hearts as super soul. Yeah. Plus, if you're trying to preach, if you speak down to people, then it's not likely they're going to listen to you. But if you express appreciation for them, then in so many cases they'll be willing to listen. Yes, okay. Then verse 7. Dainya doya anyemana pratishta varjan chari gune guni hoy karaha kirtan. By possessing these four qualities, humility, mercifulness, respect toward others, and the renunciation of desires for prestige, one becomes virtuous. In such a state, you may sing the glories of the Supreme Lord. Yeah, you may sing the glories of the Supreme Lord, and you may sing them always, and always get a wonderful experience from that chanting, always. So you're just happy to go on. You want to just go on, and you just don't want to stop for anything. Yeah, these are the four qualities being expressed in this third verse. Humility, mercifulness, respect toward others, and renunciation of desires for prestige. And finally, verse 8, Bhakti Vinoda Kandi Bol Bhakti Vinoda Kandi Bole Prabhu Pai Heno Adhikara Kabe Dibe He Amai. Weeping, Bhaktivinoda submits his prayer at the lotus feet of the Lord. O Lord, when will you give me the qualification for possessing attributes such as these? So I mentioned earlier on, as we were going through the other verses, I mentioned how sometimes it may be difficult for us to see ourselves as being worthless, destitute in terms of not money, but in terms of spiritual assets. And I said that we should pray to the Lord to help us to see ourselves for what we actually are, which is like that. So here's nice prayer. I would recommend, if you have the time, and I think you should have, read these 8 verses, elaborating on this verse of Shikshastakam. Read them regularly and submit this prayer. O Lord, when will you give me the qualification for possessing attributes such as these? Yeah. Right, so now the next thing I want to do, devotees, and I suspect we're going to use up the time just focusing on this verse 3, which I think is okay. I don't think Swarup Damodar Prabhu will be cross with me. We'll just carry on and see how it goes. So the next thing I want to do, it's really nice actually. It's just super nice. I want to read to you, how many is it? It's 5. It's 5 verses. 5 verses. From Brihad Bhagavatamrita. This is now these verses are taking this whole subject of humility onto a even higher level. Even higher level. Oh yeah. We'll read these 5 verses. It's Brihad Bhagavatamrita. The second part means the story of Gopakumar, chapter 5, verses 221 to 225. And in these verses, as we'll see as we read through them, the speaker, who is Narada Muni actually, Narada Muni is basically equating humility with Krishna prema, more or less. If not perhaps exactly, but at least pointing out that if you want Krishna prema, an absolutely essential element of your practice and how you've got to cultivate your Krishna consciousness and develop yourself. If you want Krishna prema, you've got to develop humility. Otherwise, well, as they say, good luck. But, we know that luck does not exist. There is no such thing. So in other words, if we want to achieve Krishna prema, love for Krishna, which is the goal, and it's the only way to go back to Godhead, we have to cultivate real humility. So you got that, Surup Damodar Prabhu, or anyway, I can just read it if you don't have it. It's okay. So, right, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Part 2, Chapter 5, verse 221 to 225, and these are spoken by Narada Muni. Narada Muni is speaking to Gopakumar, who's the central person basically in the story, and in the presence of Uddhava, who's great devotee. And actually they are in Dwaraka, which is, part of the spiritual realm. But that Dwaraka, even though it's very exalted and glorious, it is not on the level of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Vrindavan is the highest, where the most pure love is for Krishna. So Narada is making the point to Gopakumar that, yes, you want to go to Goloka, but you want to go, you got to cultivate humility. Okay, so here we go. Listen to this. And if you've got the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, make a note of the verse numbers, and in your own time, you refer to these verses because they are just great. So here we go. I'll just read the translations. Verse 221. That loving devotional service is far different from disciplines such as karma, jnana, and yoga. At every stage, it is decorated by indifference to them, and its root is dainya, utter humility. As we were reading the bhajan by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we came across this word, dainya. You might not have noticed it, but it was there. And it's a classic Sanskrit term, really. And as Sanatan Goswami is saying here, dainya means utter humility. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Utter humility. Not just, some humility, but utter humility. And there's a purport there. I won't read the purport. I think I'll just focus on the verses. So we'll go on to 222, next verse. Wise men define dainya as the state in which one always thinks oneself exceptionally incapable and low, even when endowed with all excellences. There was a similar statement you might remember in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song there. Even if you are Mahashai, you remember, even if you are Mahashai, great soul, great person, but still you want to progress in Krishna consciousness, then you should consider yourself and you should accept that I am, as stated here, exceptionally incapable and low. And, the bad news or good news, I don't know, but the news is that it's true. And what's the proof? What's the proof that we are exceptionally incapable and low and spiritually destitute, etc. What is the proof? The proof is we are still here in this material world. We've been here so long, we're still here. And yeah, that's the proof. Just like Lord Caitanya, it's in Caitanya Caritamrita. Lord Caitanya was being glorified by one devotee. Lord Caitanya was being glorified for being a great devotee. You know, sometimes he would be glorified for being the Supreme Lord, and he didn't appreciate that. But sometimes he was glorified for being a great devotee, because he was living like a great devotee. So this one devotee was glorifying Lord Caitanya like that, and Lord Caitanya said, no. The devotee was saying, you have so much love for the Lord, Krishna, Prema. And Lord Caitanya said, no, I don't. I have no love for the Lord, no Krishna Prema. And Lord Caitanya said, I can prove it. And you know what the proof is? The proof is that I'm still here in the material world. If I had love for Krishna, I wouldn't be able to tolerate being here in this world. And what's my program? I just look after my body, see that I eat nicely and I sit comfortably and lie down comfortably. That's me. That's my program. If I had love for Krishna, I would immediately exit and just go back to Godhead, because life in this world would be completely intolerable. Right, yes. So we should, again, as we have said a couple of times now, we should pray to the Lord that please help me to see myself for what I really am and not have delusions of grandeur that I'm some important person. No. My Lord, please help me to see myself for what I am, a fallen, conditioned soul, so I can then actually become truly humble. And 223, an intelligent person should carefully cultivate speech, behavior, and thinking that fix him in utter humility. And anything that stands in the way of it, he should avoid. Yes. Right. Okay. Let's go on to 224. Dainya. And remember, dainya doesn't just mean humility in a general sense. It means utter humility. Total. Dainya, at its most exalted, comes forth when prema, pure love of God, reaches full maturity, as it did in the women of Gokula when they were separated from Krishna. So this is referring to the gopis when Krishna left them during the rasa dance. Then their love came out so strongly in a mood of extreme humility when they are separated from Krishna. And the last verse we'll read is 225. When dainya fully matures, prema unfolds without limit. And so we see dainya and prema acting in a relationship in which each is both cause and effect. Now that's pretty amazing, isn't it? Yeah. So you can see the relationship between humility and prema. It's such a foundational relationship for devotees, for advancement in Krishna consciousness. It's so foundational, and it's really nice that they act in a relationship in which each is both cause and effect. And as Swarup Damodar Prabhu, well, he did. Yeah, he highlighted that sentence there, I think you can see. Dainya is an integral component of prema, and both foster one another. You cannot separate them from each other. Humility causes prema, and prema causes humility, and humility is the effect of prema, and prema is the effect of humility. I think you get the idea. It's and therefore this verse, the third verse of Shikshastakam, has been singled out actually as being of special importance. Of course, all the 8 verses of Shikshastakam, they're all important. They're all extremely important. But this verse has a special type of importance, particularly for us as aspiring devotees. And we're getting towards the end of our time. There's one last thing I wanted to do. I want to read to you. We're doing a lot of reading today. I want to read to you one song. It's a song of Srila Narottam Das Thakur from the collection called Prarthana. And Prarthana means prayers. And this is a song called Dainya Bodhika Prarthana. Dainya, again, you remember the word, don't you? Dainya Bodhika Prarthana. The song, you got it. Oh, you got it. Look at this. We're just well equipped here. So we'll first we'll read the Bengali, the songs in Bengali, and then we'll read we'll read the whole song in Bengali, then the whole song English translation. So Hari Hari Kimora Karama Abag. Can you understand that? I mean, I think you should be able to understand that. Hari Hari, oh my Lord Hari. Kimora Karama, whatever I do, Abag is inauspicious. Anyway, we'll get to the translation shortly. But let's go through the Bengali. Bipale Jivana Gela, Hridaye Rahila Sela, Nahi Bela Hari Anurag. Verse 2. Yagyadana Tirtha Snana, Punya Karma Japa Dhyana, Akarane Sabha Gela Mohe. Bujilana Manehena, Upahasa Hayajena. You understand upahas? It's the same word in Hindi. Upahasa means a joke. Yeah. Vastrahina Alankara Deha. Yeah, it's a joke. just like dressing up and decorating a dead body. Sadhu mukhe Caitanya Shuniya vimalachita nahi bela aparad karan satata asata sanga sakali haila banga ki kariba aile saman shruti smriti sadarabe shuniyachi e sabe haripada abaya sharan janama laiya suke Krishna na balinu mukhe na karinu se rupa bhavan Radha Krishna Dunapaya, Tanumana Rahutaya, Aradure Jauka Vasan, Naratama Dasekaya, Aramora Hanibaya, Tanumana Sampinu Apan. So here is the translation. Yeah, okay, anyway, I'll just read it.
Yeah, Maharaj, we got a different version.
Oh, you got a different version.
Yeah, very different.
Oh.
Although the title is the same. Yeah.
Acha. Okay. Oh Lord Hari, everything I do is inauspicious. I've uselessly wasted my life, and I have no love for you. It is as if my heart was pierced by a sharp spear. Verse 2, my Vedic sacrifices, charity, bathing in holy places of pilgrimage, pious deeds, mantra chanting and meditation are all useless and illusory. In my heart, I know that without devotional service, these things are a joke, like placing valuable ornaments on a naked body. 3, although I sometimes hear the nectarian message of Godhead from the mouths of the devotees, but because I commit so many offenses, I do not become purified. I continually associate with non-devotees, and in this way all my spiritual advancement is broken apart. What will I do when death comes? 4, although again and again I heard the Shruti and Smriti scriptures declaration that one should take shelter of the Lord Hari's lotus feet in order to become fearless, but still I did not chant Krishna's name, and I did not meditate on his transcendental form. And verse 5, some encouragement. I will now concentrate my mind on the lotus feet of Shri Radha and Krishna, and all my material desires will flee far away. Narottam Das says, now that I've fixed my mind on Shri Radha and Krishna, I'm no longer afraid of my future. So there's some encouraging words to finish with. You know what they say? One must finish with sweetness. So everything should be finished with sweetness. So some encouragement there. But let's try and take these things to heart and make some of these prayers to the Lord, to Lord Chaitanya, to Prabhupada, to the great devotees, that I know I've heard so much how humility is important, but I struggled to really develop it. So please be kind and help me to develop some real humility so that then I can chant nicely all the time, be absorbed in chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Go Premanandi. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chaitanya Maharaj, and thank you to devotees for joining. this discussion on the Shikshashtaka, on such an important verse, the third verse. Next week we will not continue with the Shikshashtaka prayers with Maharaj, but we will continue on August 22nd again. So it's Sunday, August 22nd, is the Shikshashtaka. And next week, towards the latter part of next week, we'll announce the speaker and topic for the Sunday program. So we look forward to all of y'all's association next weekend again, and then especially on August 22nd, where Maharaj will continue with the Shikshashtaka prayers. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai. Haribol. Okay, Hare Krishna. See you later. Uvidam Sapoja.